Right, here's my review of the haves and the have-nots. It's quite late because I just got the time to make the review. I've been doing some stuff, been busy, and did not have time to come on here and do my review. So I'm here now to do it. Okay, so we pick up almost exactly where we left off last week, and it is the aftermath of Amanda's death, and this is after the revelation. And so we start out with Jim. He's on the bus, and he either got on the wrong bus or somebody gave him bad directions of how to ride the bus. And he ends up at the end of the line in a bad neighborhood, and he's arguing with the bus driver. She's arguing right back with him, and he's like, I need to get to Market Street. I need to get to Market Street. And she's saying, this is the end of the line. I'm done. And he has to use her cell phone. And she said, no. And he's just arguing with her. And the stupid thing he did was he took his bus pass and threw it down. And I don't know why he did that. And he's yelling. He got off the bus. And then he got outside and was slapping the front of the window and all that, the windshield. And it was a mess. So from there, we go to the Pryor Mansion, and Catherine and everyone, they arrive there. And Catherine wants to know what happened. She wants to see Amanda, and they're not letting her, you're not going to let her go upstairs because there's an investigation going on. So she just has a seat, and so Veronica decides to ask Celine to get Catherine a glass of water, and Celine doesn't get up, and Veronica says, did you hear me? I said get her a glass of water. And Celine said to Veronica, I don't work for you. And so Veronica's not going to have that, so she gets up and says, well, you're an employee here, you get up and get this glass. And Celine just kind of sat back, and I was kind of on Celine's side here, because Veronica thinks she can just talk to everybody just any kind of way, and I was glad that Celine kind of just stood on her ground there, because somebody needs to stand their ground to Veronica, because she's out of control. And so Veronica, she went in the kitchen to get the glass of water. And so David, he tries to comfort Wyatt. He's like, well, are you okay? And Wyatt says, that's a stupid question. It really was kind of a stupid question, seeing as Wyatt's sister is dead, and under very, very tragic circumstances. And so Wyatt goes off and he says, why is everybody so stupid? Why are you standing with him? And referring to Jim. And he's saying he's a monster, and this is his fault. And Catherine's saying, Wyatt, stop it. And so Hannah is really the only voice of reason in the room. And she gets him, she tells Wyatt, she says, honey, look at me, look at me. And she says, yeah, I know this is hard for you, but you can't make everybody suffer any more than they already are right now. So she kind of talked him down, and so Jeffrey, he comforts Wyatt, he gives him a hug, and right then Veronica's coming back from the kitchen with the water, and she sees this, and she is just she's not feeling it, she's very upset, and when she walks around, she says to Wyatt, she says to Jeffrey, well, let Wyatt sit down. And Jeffrey this is when he finally tries to stand up for himself. But it's in a very, odd way that he picked this time to try to stand up for himself. She tells him, let Wyatt sit down. And so he starts stroking the back of Wyatt's head, and Veronica, she does not have it, so she's like, Jeffrey, that's enough. And Melissa's standing right there looking, and it's clear that she knows what is up here. And David, he looks at Veronica and he tells her, "Take care of Catherine. Take care of Catherine." And so Jeffrey finally lets go of Wyatt, but he did all that to aggravate his mother. When he was hugging Wyatt, he had this very calculating expression on his face, and it was it was a I thought it was a good scene because he's finally standing up for himself, but um, I'm not sure this was really the right time to do it or if he did it in the right way. He was more like taunting his mother than standing up to her, but at least he took some initiative to assert himself against her bullying. So David says, "Well, I'm gonna call a car from you, Melissa, so you can go home. This is a private family moment." And Veronica's like, "No, Jeffrey needs her," and she's losing her mind. She's kind of talking like in this sort of tone, and like she's not, like she's not totally rational. And David's like, he doesn't even know her, and she's like, "David, did you know they were having sex?" And David's like, "What?" And he really still wants her to go home. But what happens is that kind of gets that gets sidetracked because he asks Celine to call the car, and she says, "Do it your damn self." And he's like, "I beg your pardon," and Celine says, "I'm gonna leave. I want to leave." She gets up, and Veronica's like, "Show some respect," and she's like, "Go to hell." And I mean, Celine, she's got her issues and everything, but I was feeling her on this because she wanted to get out of the house. I mean, you're in the house where somebody shot themselves and there was blood all over the place, and you saw that. I mean, who would want to stay there through all that? And she's like, and the police don't want her to go. And she says, "The girl committed suicide. She was unstable. What more do you need to know?" And so Catherine's like, "Let her go." And Catherine wants her out of her house, and "I want her out of my house." And she says, "It's Jim's house." And Catherine's telling her, "You're the most wicked soul I've ever known." And Catherine's going off, and she takes this vase and throws it at Celine, and Celine dodges it, and Celine's all, "I'm pressing charges." And it was intense. And then Wyatt, he goes off, and he's saying, "Finally, you do something." And he's saying that I guess Catherine didn't is not one for taking action when things are happening, and so she goes over there and she tells him, "Shut up," and he says, "Don't you tell me to shut up," and she says, "And don't you tell me what to do." Pow! Slaps him across the face. And Hannah's Hannah's there trying to keep the peace because everything's getting out of control, and Wyatt is like, "Go on, hit me again, Mom, hit me again, Mom." He looks like he was getting ready to fight with Catherine. And so Jeffrey has to get him and take him to the kitchen. And what was funny about this scene is because Veronica, she was serious, and Jeffrey taking Wyatt to the kitchen, and she's telling Melissa, "Hurry, Melissa, go with Jeffrey, go with Jeffrey." And I'm like, well, is she saying it so seriously? Like, and I said, she just really takes this whole thing just way, way, way too far. I mean, Melissa really is close to Jeffrey or something, like she really knows him or something, and it's just stupid. And so finally Celine tries to leave, and finally she gets to leave because Veronica says if she's not under arrest for anything, she doesn't have to stay here. She tells the officer, "You're in a house full of judges and lawyers. That's more degrees than a thermometer." And for once, Veronica used her attitude wisely, because the police officer really was annoying, and there was no reason Celine really needed to stay there. And let me think, what happened next? Let me look at my notes here. And so David, he calls. Okay, this is when David called the car. He called the car for Melissa, and Veronica thinks that the car. She asks, "Is that car for you?" And he said, "No, it's for Melissa." And she's like, "Jeffrey needs her," and all this stuff. And again, she's just being redundant about this. And she's like, "No, she's not leaving. She's not leaving." And David said, "You're not going to have this argument here. You're not gonna." And she says, and she says, "Yes, I will." And David, he once again, he basically says, "Our friends have lost their daughter. We should be focusing on them right now, and you shouldn't be worrying about all that other. Just just focus on our friends who have lost their daughter." And I think he made a good point there, because I think it was selfish of Veronica to be focused on her own machinations at that point. And so we move over to Hannah and Catherine, and Catherine saying, "How will I know if it's her if I don't see her?" And Hannah says, "You don't want to see her, Mrs. Cryer, believe me." And she asks, "Says you found her?" And Catherine says, "Yes, I did." And Catherine, I guess that she was in disbelief. She said, "It's really her," and she just breaks down, and Hannah embraces her. And it was a sad scene. So from there we go back over to Jim, who's walking in the hood. He's lost, doesn't know what to do. So he approaches this guy, and he asks him about the bus. And I think he asked him about the bus, and no, he asked him if he could use his cell phone. And the guy's like, "You trying to steal my phone?" And he's like, "No, I'm not trying to steal your phone." And finally, the guy recognizes him as a judge, and the guy's like, "You put my brother in jail." And he grabs Jim, is getting ready to rough him up, and then this older lady comes up, and she says, "Yeah, you stop that, and she gets the guy to back off and go on. And so Jim starts talking to her and asking her questions. He asked her if she had a cell phone, and she said, "I don't have a cell phone." And he has to beg this woman for a ride. She's like, "No, no, no." He said, "I need a ride to Market Street." He's begging her. And finally she says, "Okay." And she recognized him as the judge, and she's like, "Well, are you on drugs?" And he's like, "No." But all that aside, she ended up giving him a ride. And so from there we go to Benny and Candace. They had a couple of scenes, and I'll just condense those down instead of breaking it up. Um, so he's still there, and so Candace makes up this gigantic lie that she passed the bar, got hired at a law firm, and got a big bonus because one of the firm partners likes her a little more than he should, and likes her and was doing a little more than he should have been doing for her. And we know that's obviously not the case. So she tells Benny this story. He's like, "Oh, I want to tell Mama. I want her to know you made it." She's like, "She won't care." And so she said, and then she gave Benny a big lie. She gave Benny a big lie. Now she's telling him she got $250,000. Second lie she's told about this money. She told Warlock she got 400 G's, and gave him the a 100,000 out of that 400,000 that she supposedly got, but she really got 7.4 million. So I'm guessing what she did is she probably subtracted she probably subtracted the 100,000 that she gave to Warlock, and then 50,000 for all the ridiculous clothes and stuff she bought. So, but she told Benny a lie, period. So I think she just subtracted stuff from the Warlock math, that Warlock math lie she gave, but whatever. And so Benny starts bragging about, "Well, I got 17 toes today, and I cleared $800." And his Candace is like, "Okay, that's nice." And she's looking at him like, you need to think bigger. You need to think bigger than this." And she wants to get him another truck so he can hire somebody else to tow and really get his business going and make something of his business. And I'm thinking that is a a new direction where the rest of the season and the next season will go, like where maybe the have-nots are actually going to hit a bit of smoother sailing, and the haves are going to hit rougher sailing. That's what it appears to be to me. And so we get back to Jim after that, and Jim, he's in the car with this black lady that picked him up, and she's being real sympathetic. She's like, I'm sorry, and she keeps asking him, I thought you'd want to go home, and he says, no, I want to go to Market Street. And she says, well, your whole family's going to be at home. And he's like, why would they be at home? And she said, I'm so sorry. And then she finally says, you didn't hear? It's your daughter. She killed herself. And Jim's like, what? And finally he says, well, take me home. And so Jim, it was funny, tragic scene, but it was funny because he pulls up to the house, and with this woman, she pulls up, and he gets out of this old Pinto, which apparently is the seems to be the official car of low-income black people. So she lets him out and says, I'll pray for you. And Celine's standing around outside, and Jim asks her, is it true? And she's just like, and being like that and not really saying anything. So he gets inside, and he asks David, and David lets him know what happened. And they had an emotional scene because he hugs David, and that's the first time that I really got the feeling that they actually have an actual friendship. It's not more like just a sort of a friendship that's more based on getting somewhere in politics or something. It's an actual friendship because he was leaning on David for comfort in that moment. And so we get to the next scene where Wyatt is seeking comfort in a bottle of bourbon or something. I'm not sure what it was. And Jeffrey tried to stop him from drinking it, and he's getting snarky again, and he asks Melissa, who are you? And she said, I'm Melissa, we met before. And she said, yeah, and he says, yeah, I know. And she says, I'm Jeffrey's Dayton. She says, Wyatt's like, did he tell you he's in love with me? And Jeffrey's like, Wyatt, stop this. And he's getting indignant, and he says, and Wyatt just tells her, he's gay and in love with me. And Melissa, she finally just says, I gathered that he was gay from when another guy pointed that out to me. Another guy showed me that. And Wyatt is like, what are you up to? Why are you still here? If I don't know of any straight woman that stays with a gay man, especially when she's just started dating him. And she's looking like, her eyes are kind of like shifting, like she's got something that, there's a secret there or something. And, so she finally says, is that a back door? I'm going to go wait for my car outside. And so before she leaves, she says, I'll call you, Jeffrey. And she touches his arm. And she does it like in a way like there's some truth I need to tell you. And I think she's probably going to tell him that Veronica put her up to messing around with him. And Wyatt, he just loves to taunt Jeffrey. And he's like, come on, kiss me. And it's like, Jeffrey. And Jeffrey just goes on. He's like, you're a jerk. And he goes on out. Because Wyatt has already made all these statements and told Melissa, look at him, every chance he gets, he wants to touch me and comfort me. He can't help himself. Wyatt, he enjoys teasing and torturing Jeffrey over this whole situation. And so let me try to wrap this up because this is running a little bit longer than I like it to. And so David and Jim have their conversation. David tries to get out of Jim where he was at. Jim doesn't want to say it first, and then Jim gets into this is all her fault. This is all Candace's fault, and David's like, you can't blame Candace for this. And Jim says, well, Amanda was fine before Candace came into her life. She was fine. She was fine. And David points out Amanda had mental issues before, but you know, Amanda did get worse because of what happened with that professor, and so she did get worse, and that's what sent her on the path where she stopped taking her medicine and just went completely out of control. It was sad when that happened to her, and she went out, just lost it. And Jim finally lets out and he says, I was with Candace, and at first David's like, oh, Jim. He thinks he was thinking that he was just messing around with her. And Jim's like, no, it's not like that. She had thugs kidnap me, and she extorted $7.4 million from me, and she took dirty videos with me and threatened me, and she's not gone. She's still a threat. And because David was thinking that she was gone, he thought that the Malones had scared her off. He did not realize that she was still in the picture and still a threat to them and their campaign. And Jim's saying this is a war worth waging, so it looks like he might be going after Candace. So Candace has her money now, and she's feeling happy and everything. And the last scene, just about the last scene, is Hannah and Veronica. We're trying to comfort Catherine, and Catherine, she was getting ready to drop the truth about Wyatt being the hit and run driver. And Veronica, you don't know what you're saying. You don't know what you're saying. Don't say this. Don't say this. And Veronica, I think she was so anxious to get Hannah out the room and to shut Catherine up. I think it wasn't that she was concerned that much about the truth coming out about Wyatt. I think she's worried that if the truth came out, she would no longer be able to really extort Jeffrey with that stupid car. And so what it is, finally Veronica gets Hannah to go out the room, and Hannah is getting ready to leave, but then a police officer comes in and says, we need to see everybody in the living room. So everybody meets in the living room, and the police officer said the DA is on the way. And Veronica says DAs don't usually show up for this sort of thing, and the police officer said this is a homicide investigation, and everybody's like looking like, what? That's how it goes off. So it was a very emotional episode. I had a more emotional tone than all the others in every season it was more emotional. And next week it's going to be really intense because Catherine's going to get into it with Celine. She's going to hit her and then pull her hair and be dragging her, and well, it looks like it's going to be good next week. So this ran a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but thank you for watching, and subscribe if you feel inclined to, like and comment also, and I'm happy that you've watched my review. So until next time, deuces.